In this crazy world of ours, we've never been more connected. At least that's what the tech folks keep telling us. We've got screens in our hands, pings in our pockets, and faces smiling back at us through little glowing rectangles. And yet, somehow, a whole lot of us are feeling more alone than ever. Strange, isn't it? Social media says it's giving us closeness, but half the time it's like eating cotton candy when you're starving. Sweet for a moment, sure, but it doesn't fill you up. And sometimes you wake up realizing all those likes and comments were just noise. That's where Lao Tzu comes in, old master of the Tao, the Way. His wisdom's been echoing through the centuries, whispering to anyone willing to slow down and listen. And here's the thing, he didn't see solitude as a curse. He saw it as a doorway, a place where the noise dies down and you finally hear the sound of your own heartbeat. So today, we're going to sit together, you, me, and Lao Tzu, and take a walk down this quiet road, looking for what he called the natural way. We'll find out how loneliness can become the very place you meet yourself. Chapter 1. Loneliness in today's world. Now, I've lived long enough to see a lot of changes. Back in my younger days, social network meant your neighbor waving at you from his porch or folks leaning on the counter at the diner talking about the weather. Now it's all likes, swipes, and friend counts that look impressive until you realize you can't call half those people at 2 a.m. when life gets real. And here's a hard truth. More than 60% of Americans have felt truly alone at some point. Not just, I'm sitting by myself at lunch alone. I'm talking that heavy kind, where you're in a room full of people and still feel invisible. Lao Tzu, well, he saw this thousands of years ago. Ordinary men hate solitude, but the master makes use of it, embracing his aloneness, realizing he is one with the whole universe. That's not a Hallmark card, that's an instruction manual. It's saying most folks run from being alone because they're afraid of what they might hear in that silence. But the wise, they lean into it. He also said something I've found to be painfully true. If you are alone, you are all your own. With a companion, you are half yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, companionship is a gift, but when you're with someone, part of you is always leaning toward them. When you're alone, that's when you can stand tall in your own skin. And solitude isn't just about the absence of people, it's about meeting yourself honestly. Lao Tzu warned, the wise become their own best friend and appreciate privacy, while the man of no virtue or ability, afraid of solitude, turns into his own worst enemy. That's as true in 2025 as it was back in his time. If you can't be with yourself without running for distraction, you're going to have a rough ride in life. And here's the thing, this isn't about becoming some mountain hermit, unless that's your thing. It's about understanding, deep down, that we are born alone and die alone, experience the good and bad consequences of our karma alone, and we go alone to hell or the supreme abode. Your life is your own path to walk. Others can walk beside you, sure, but no one can walk it for you. Lao Tzu put it in a way that still stops me in my tracks. To be alone with the truth for just a moment is worth more than the world and life itself. You can spend a lifetime chasing noise, chasing people, chasing approval. But one quiet, honest moment with yourself, that's gold. So when the world feels crowded yet cold, when your phone's full of messages but your heart feels empty, maybe it's not a sign that something's missing. Maybe it's an invitation to step away from the crowd, to sit quietly, and to hear the sound of your own life, steady and strong, like a river under ice. Chapter 2. Taoism and the Acceptance of Solitude.
Lao Tzu teaches that everything in this world is connected through the Tao, the invisible, formless current that flows through all living things. It is not a God you can see, nor a law you can write down. It is more like the quiet breath of the universe, holding everything together without ever needing to announce itself. And yet when we find ourselves alone, it is easy to feel as if we have been cut away from this flow, like a fallen leaf drifting apart from the tree. Loneliness feels like separation, but in Taoism, even solitude belongs to the whole. You see, the Tao does not judge whether you are surrounded by 1,000 friends or sitting in a silent room. It moves through both conditions with the same calm patience. The river does not stop being a river when it narrows into a quiet stream. The moon is not less the moon when clouds hide it from our eyes. In the same way, your life is no less connected to the great web when you walk a path that seems empty. When we fight loneliness, we create tension. We tighten our grip, demand answers, and chase distractions to fill the silence. But Lao Tzu says, "Be empty, and you will be full." Emptiness here is not despair. It is the kind of openness that allows life to pour into you. When you stop demanding that the world entertain you, reassure you, or praise you, you suddenly discover an unexpected space inside yourself. And that space is not a void. It is a garden waiting for quiet rain. Imagine a river moving through a valley. The rocks in its way are not enemies to be crushed. The river simply flows around them. In fact, the stones shape its song, give it rhythm, and even deepen its beauty. Solitude is like those stones. When we learn to move around it instead of smashing into it, we find it can guide us into places we would never have reached on a crowded road. I have seen people exhaust themselves trying to escape their own company. They fill their hours with noise, movement, and endless interaction, hoping to avoid that moment when they must face themselves. But here's the quiet truth. If you cannot stand alone, you will never truly stand with others. Companionship should be a choice, not a crutch. Lao Tzu reminds us that the sage can be content in the marketplace or in the mountains, because both are part of the Tao. Solitude offers a rare gift, the chance to hear the faint music beneath the noise of life. When you are not busy performing for others, you notice your own breathing. You feel the slow turning of the seasons. You sense the small, unspoken lessons the world has been offering you all along. In a crowd, it's easy to lose yourself in other people's currents. Alone, you can finally feel your own. Some fear solitude because they mistake it for emptiness in the modern sense, the hollow kind, the aching absence. But the Taoist emptiness is different. It is the stillness of a clay bowl before it is filled. It is the pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. It is the silent readiness that allows you to receive whatever the Tao sends your way. So, instead of fighting loneliness, try meeting it like an old teacher. Sit with it. Let it speak in its slow, unhurried voice. It will tell you where your attachments lie, where your fears still hide, and where your strength has been quietly waiting for you to notice. When you stop seeing solitude as a punishment, it transforms into a sanctuary. The Tao flows through the crowded street and the empty path with equal grace. You are never outside of it. Even in your quietest hour, you are held by the same current that moves the stars and carries the rivers to the sea. Solitude, then, is not the absence of connection. It is the moment when you can feel that connection most clearly. Chapter 3. The Tao of Loneliness.
Now let me tell you something, friend. Loneliness ain't always the enemy folks make it out to be. In fact, sometimes it's the teacher you didn't know you needed. I know. When you're sitting at home and the house is so quiet you can hear your own refrigerator humming, that teacher can feel more like a bully. But Lao Tzu, that old Chinese fella who knew more about life than most of us ever will, he saw things different. He'd say, if you're alone, you're already halfway to peace. You just don't know how to walk the rest of the way. So, how do you do that? Well, I'll give you 3 steps. Simple steps. And I don't mean simple like they're easy. I mean they're the kind of simple where you think, that's it? And then 5 years later, you realize that was all you ever needed. Step 1. Practice silence. Lao Tzu loved silence like a fisherman loves the sound of a still lake at dawn. He taught that in silence, you can finally hear the things that actually matter. Not the TV, not your neighbor's dog, not that little voice in your head that keeps reciting your to-do list, but your deeper self, the part of you that don't usually get to speak. Try this. Set aside 10 minutes a day. Doesn't matter if it's morning, night, or somewhere in between. Just sit there. No music, no phone, no distractions. Let your thoughts roll by like clouds in the summer sky. Don't grab onto them, don't wrestle with them, just watch them drift. You'll be surprised how much lighter your mind feels when you stop trying to swat every thought like a mosquito. And here's the thing. The first few times you do it, you might feel fidgety, even a little silly, but give it time. Silence is like an old friend. At first, it can feel awkward if you haven't seen each other in a while. But before long, you'll remember why you liked being together. Step 2. Follow woo-wee. Now, woo-wee is a fancy-sounding phrase that just means don't force it. It's about moving with the flow instead of trying to dam up the river. We get lonely, and the first thing we do is scramble to fill the space with noise. Parties we don't want to be at. Social media scrolling till our thumbs go numb. Working overtime just so we ain't home with ourselves. But here's the truth. That's just painting over a leaky roof. It looks fine for a minute, but the water's still coming in. Lao Tzu would say, don't fight the space, let it be space. Go take a walk without a podcast in your ears. Sit on your porch without checking your phone every 5 minutes. Let the air, the trees, the street sounds, whatever's around you fill the silence instead of artificial chatter. When you stop trying to fix loneliness, it changes shape. It stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like a quiet room you can stretch out in. Step 3. Find your Tao. Here's the kicker. Your Tao is your path, not anybody else's. The world's real good at telling you what should make you happy. Go out more, join a club, meet new people. But Lao Tzu would laugh at that. He'd say, find what makes you peaceful. Maybe for you that's reading a book by the window while it rains. Maybe it's tinkering in the garage or painting or sitting with a cup of tea while watching the steam rise. It don't have to look impressive to anyone else. It just has to feel right in your bones. See, when you follow someone else's path, you're like a fish trying to climb a tree. You're going to feel clumsy and frustrated. But when you follow your Tao, loneliness turns into solitude, and solitude turns into strength. So, here's the secret Lao Tzu left us. Loneliness isn't a punishment, it's an open door. Silence lets you hear yourself. Wu-wee teaches you to stop fighting the empty space. And finding your Tao shows you how to fill that space with something real. If you treat your alone time like a curse, it'll stay one. But if you treat it like a gift, you might just unwrap the best thing you ever found.
Chapter 4. The Teacher Called Solitude. Loneliness is often painted as an enemy. We imagine it as a cold wind that blows through our lives, chilling the heart and making us feel small, forgotten, and unwanted. But Lao Tzu would tell you something different. He would say that loneliness, like winter, is not here to punish you. It's here to prepare you. It is not an enemy to be defeated, but a teacher to be understood. When you strip away the noise, the obligations, the endless chatter of the world, something remarkable happens. The silence begins to speak. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it simply waits, patiently, like a river wearing down stone. In that stillness, we start to hear what has been drowned out for years, our own heart. Lao Tzu reminds us that in quiet acceptance, we rediscover ourselves. In stillness, the whole world surrenders, he might say, pointing not to the surrender of defeat, but to the surrender of unnecessary struggle. We live in an age of separation. Politics divides families. Technology distracts our minds. Ambitions pull us in 100 competing directions. The modern world teaches us to chase, to compete, to measure ourselves against everyone else. But the Tao, the way, has no interest in comparison. It does not divide, it unites. It flows through everything, binding the mountain to the stream, the bird to the wind, and you to the rest of life. To live by the Tao is to understand that we are already whole. Loneliness doesn't mean we are broken or incomplete. It means we have been given a chance to meet ourselves without interruption. When you see it this way, solitude becomes a rare gift, one that the noisy, crowded world cannot easily offer. So, how do we open ourselves to this gift? Lao Tzu would tell you, don't force it. Don't try to use solitude the way you use a tool. Instead, simply notice it. Today, find a moment, even if it's just a minute, to sit by a window and watch the light shift, or step outside and feel the night air under the stars. Don't bring your phone. Don't try to achieve a feeling. Just be there, fully. And when you are there, ask yourself, what is my heart saying? The answer will not always be loud or clear. Sometimes it comes as a small warmth in the chest, sometimes as a memory, sometimes as nothing at all, just peace. But every time, the answer is already within you, waiting to be noticed. Lao Tzu believed that life is not about adding more, but about removing what is unnecessary. The more we cling to the idea that we are incomplete without others' approval, the more we suffer. But when we let go of that need, we find that we already carry everything we seek. In the end, solitude is not about isolation. It is about connection. Not with more people, not with more noise, but with the deepest part of yourself, and through it, with the whole of existence. When you can be alone and still feel whole, you have touched the Tao. And so, the next time loneliness visits you, welcome it like an old friend. Offer it tea. Ask what it has to teach you. And listen, because within its quiet presence lies the map back to yourself. If these words have stirred something in you, if you're ready to see solitude not as a curse, but as a path, I invite you to walk this road with me. Subscribe to the channel, and together we'll keep exploring the wisdom of Lao Tzu, one step and one quiet moment at a time.